Yeah, quite a decent
All right.
wide angle on this.
Yeah, not bad. All right. Now we're live. Yeah, the first few minutes are a little waiting around and whatnot, but good morning or good evening.
Yeah, hello, everyone.
Yep. Well, yeah, and we'll just wait it out a few minutes here as we get the ball rolling. You know, the classic 5-minute intro. It's a water morning today, more than anything, but yeah. But anyway, you guys can tell from the title that we're. Hey, Blake! Hey, good to see you this morning, man. Evening for you, perhaps.
Hey, Shanae.
Oh yeah, the missus. Well, to kind of get things going right away here, I was gonna say, yeah, this is Pita, and yeah, maybe you go ahead, man. Tell me about yourself. So, yeah, what brings us here? What's your story, man?
Yeah, what's up? Where do I start? Yeah, I've been teaching in Asia for about 4 years now. We started off in Thailand. That's where we did our TEFL and all that. And we worked there for about a year or so, and then we came to Vietnam, and we've been here ever since. I've done many different things in my life, including IT and a bit of construction and electrician and all sorts. And when we went to Thailand, we had a certain mindset of go there to make money and then go home when we finished. Then we went to Vietnam, same mindset. Came to Vietnam, same mindset. Make some money, go home. And the longer we stay here, the longer we want to stay.
Sure.
So yeah.
Well, that could be said, and well, and I think a really important idea here is there's a lot of ways of making it in Vietnam, and I've got my strategy and my style, which is right for me and right for a lot of people. But yeah, again, Pita has his style and his experiences, which are different. So the idea here today is to show you a variety pack of different ways of living out here, because again, no one person has all the answers. A lot of things that Pita knows more than I do, and whatnot. So, but yeah, and basically, again, what we're talking about here is how to make a living in Vietnam, and our main horsemen are, of course, getting your TEFL and going the degree route and teaching English out here is a very solid plan, and it works for a reason and is popular for a reason. Two, and still on the note of teaching, is teaching independently, whether that's part-time gigs at schools or that's a variety of other things. Yeah, individual students, tutoring opportunities, things along those lines. Three, starting a business out here in some way, shape, or form. That's got a lot of pros and cons to it, more cons than pros, but can be done. Finally, also working in the tour industry and doing things along those lines, whether that's, marketing or in some cases selling tours directly, let's just say, among other ideas. So yeah, again, those are some main ones. There's obviously more ways than that to make it, including there are folks that actually work in the programming industry, work as an electrician installer in the construction industry, yeah, among other things. So yeah, there's a huge variety pack. So we're gonna do our best to try to cover as many angles as we can here. And yeah, by the way, if any of y'all, including Blake there, if you have any questions, just feel free to fire away, and we'll do our best to, cover them one by one here where we can.
Talking about the different opportunities, it's almost like every hostel here has a foreigner working for them.
Yeah. That's worth noting.
From what I've seen, yeah.
And I got requested to work at bar and hostel here. probably turning them down for a variety of reasons, but yeah, that's definitely an option. In other words, if you're into the party atmosphere and stuff like that, and you want to party, yep, you could do it. Yeah. So, trying to think, yeah, kind of where to begin. That's always the tricky thing here on a topic that could take hours. But how about this? How much money do you need to make it out here? Yeah, I guess we could start there, because everything kind of goes from there or builds upon that. In other words, if you can make whatever you're doing, if you know where the line is, you're doing pretty good. So, in your own case, yeah, what do you think in terms of money? How much would you need to earn to make it out here? Would you say?
That's such a vague question as well, because it greatly depends on where you want to live and what you want to do and what you want to eat. Because the range you're talking about is crazy. You can live for as little as $700-800 a month easily, or you can't get by with $2,000 depending on where you stay and what you eat.
Okay, those are good data points, sure.
But yeah, as far as bare minimum, you can go with 100,000 a day for food and transport and stuff. 100,000 dong.
There we go. Yeah.
A day for food and all that, and then accommodation. If you live in a hostel or in a homestay, you're looking at $200 a month, $250 a month, and so you'd be fine.
5 million.
Yeah, about 5 million dong.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then you'd be sorted. You'd have food and you'd have place to stay and you'd have transport.
Mm-hmm. $2,000 a month, which would be like 45 million, let's just say. So what would that example lifestyle look like?
I would say you're going to live an upper class type of lifestyle. You're going to live in a nice little apartment, probably 1 or 2 bedroom, with a great view on the 10th floor of some apartment building. But you're going to end up paying about almost $1,000 for that apartment per month. And then most likely you won't be eating local when you stay there, because it'll be surrounded by a bunch of fancy restaurants and Western restaurants, where you're going to end up spending 200 to 300,000 per meal. So you can rack up $2,000 pretty quickly.
Sure.
That kind of lifestyle.
Which still sounds pretty cheap for most people if you're going to retire out here and that kind of thing. Arguably, like if I was told $2,000 a month while sitting in America, I'd be like, oh, sure. You mean 2/3 the poverty line? All right. Well,
yeah. I suppose that's where it comes in of how much you want to work. Because obviously to make $2,000 would take you a little bit longer, and it would need a bit more work from your side than it would to make $800.
Certainly. Well, and it's nice to know about like where these lines are, because the truth is, when we look at this, like I brought up an example to one of my buddies, cost of living and so forth. One way of thinking about this is, hey, if you're making $100 a day, doing whatever it is you do, whether just to pick a baseline, whether that's working online or again perhaps teaching or whatever the case is, if your lifestyle is cost 2,500 American dollars, well, do the math. You got to work 25 days a month. Whereas if your cost of living is $900, well, you got to work 9. So you go from working 6 days a week or more all the way down to 2 days a week. That's a pretty big difference. That's a huge difference just because of cost of living. So that's worth bearing in mind, because after all, that's the reason most people work in the first place. Most of the time. I mean, unless you're damn bored. Anyway, when we talk about various schools and stuff, we'll try to do both, or various opportunities. We'll try to do both currencies just to kind of keep it simple. Sure. Makes sense. It's too easy to jump back and forth and then cut off the thousands and be like, and it's 400 there. Yeah, let's try to be clear where we can, right? So, okay, great. So, yeah, in terms of, let's go with the most common then. Could go TEFL style. Yeah. Okay, teaching. Why is teaching such a common thing out here? Okay, there's a lot of reasons. The most obvious is that Vietnamese people want to learn English. Okay, and not just Vietnamese people, but people in general across the earth for a lot of reasons. To be clear, knowing English for a lot of people can be the equivalent in terms of earning power of a PhD. You know, in other words, a person who's a medical doctor in a hospital will earn less than a person who has excellent English ability. Okay, that's, I don't want to say it's sad. That's terrific, but
Yeah.
it's a reality, of it out here. So it's a very, very, very big deal.
Yeah, when I teach a class full of adults, and one of the first questions I ask them, of course, is why do you want to learn English? What's your purpose? Because then I can see what kind of English I can teach you in that direction, because I want to cater to you specifically. And all of them say better job, better job, better job. As we go through the room, they're studying English to get a better job, better job.
Mm-hmm. No, which is a great thing. So in other words, it's a by teaching English, it is a way that you can really transform a person's career and make life better for them and their family, which is terrific. And a lot of times they can go from almost nothing to a decent level in less than a year.
Yeah.
Less effort than a PhD. There again, right? So, okay, cool. So that's a big reason why. Along the way, it's obviously it's really easy for a lot of foreigners to be able to teach out here. A lot of times your qualification is, are you a native speaker? Terrific. You're hired. That's it. You pretty much show up. There's a lot of folks that know little to nothing about teaching, let alone grammar, let alone almost no experience, tick, 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 tick. But they can show up here and get hired right away.
Yeah.
Even if they were unemployed for years at home or whatever the case is.
Yeah, I've actually been to a few school graduation ceremonies, and I was invited just because I'm a English speaker. They have no idea what credentials I have. They don't even know if I can speak English properly. They just know that I'm living there and I speak English to some degree. And then they invite you, free food, free whatever, just to take a bunch of photos so they can use that for advertising, so that they can say, our school uses English teachers, native English teachers. So
Sure. Actually, you're touching on something that's worth underscoring. I call it a mascotting.
Yeah.
Yep. Which means, kind of like it sounds, you're there for the photo ops, there for the look and whatnot. Which for handsome guys like us, shit, yeah, of course you want me to mascot for you. But no, that's a very real thing. There's a school around here. They never ask for a resume or whatever. It's just, hey, you're a good teacher, you're fun. That's really all we want. And then the kids will go back and tell their mom and dad, oh, I was learning with a foreigner today. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's what they really want.
Yeah.
So they don't necessarily want me there every day. They just maybe once a week, once a month to drop in, do some high fives, say hi to the parents. ...
Yeah, and in fairness, the schools can't always afford to have a foreigner there every day. But once a month, sure. Mm-hmm. So they would actually do all their lessons with a Vietnamese teacher and get a native teacher to come in and just practice with them a little bit, because they can't afford it, because foreigners are expensive.
Yeah,
more expensive than Vietnamese.
Sure. Yeah, which, to put it in perspective, foreigners are roughly earn 5 times as much as an average well-qualified Vietnamese teacher. Would that sound about right to you?
Yeah, from my experience, they earn around the good ones, around 6 to 8 million per month.
Oh, the good Vietnamese teachers.
Yeah, Vietnamese English teachers. Yeah.
Yep. Yikes.
Yeah. If I studied for 4 years at a university to get a degree, and then I work for 6 to 8 million a month,
which is $200 to $350. Mm-hmm. Yeah, $200 to $350 a month. Yikes. Yeah. But okay, well, a decent English teacher, that's a range. It's a huge range.
Big range, yeah.
Yeah.
Highly depends on the town, the city, the school, the client base. Yeah,
Yep.
there's a lot of variables there.
Yeah, how many hours you're working,
Yeah.
contract length, yeah, that kind of stuff. Well, let's throw out some data points, just for the
Yeah,
hell of it.
sure.
Okay, what's been your experience, your direct firsthand experience in terms of earning power? Just to go from there. And
Yeah, let's start in the south. Maybe.
Okay, that sounds
In the
great.
south, Saigon, Binjung, that kind of area, teachers are generally looking at earning between $17 and about $20 an hour. Starting off, you can earn more. There are schools that pay $20 plus up to $30 an hour, but it all depends on the school and whatever. But generally, majority of teachers will start off on about $17 to $20 an hour.
Oh, right there.
And then you can kind of work out the math. If you work 100 hours a month, earning $20 an hour, yeah, you'll be getting about $2,000.
So it's doing pretty darn good. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's about the average.
Okay. And excellent. And Blake, you were wondering right here, more curious about the tech side of things, as that's your world. Hey, you're talking to two tech guys. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, just don't want to get bored. Like, don't like the idea of having to work so I can exist. So we'll probably be retired for the most part. Sweet.
Cool.
And sitting on the beach drinking beers does not appeal to me. Right on. I like you already, buddy. Yeah. Okay, and since we're kind of in the beginning here anyway, talking about a variety of jobs, let's go there. The tech side of things, since you're wondering, there, Blake. Well, do you have any direct first-hand experience? Because I can talk about a few points.
Yeah, actually, about a few days ago, I was talking to a Vietnamese English teacher, and she was just talking to me about what I've done and what I used to do back home in South Africa. And I told her, well, I studied IT for 6 years, and I was a network administrator, computer technician, server administrator, all that. And she asked, why don't I teach IT here? Excuse me. And I said, well, I don't speak Vietnamese fluently enough yet. And they're like, but why don't you teach IT? Because I don't. Never mind. Yeah. So she suggested that I go to an IT school or IT college or whatever, and ask them, hey, do you want a native teacher to teach your IT class in English? Which is a possibility. And if you don't want to do teaching, there's a lot of support roles you can do as well in IT.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends what kind of tech thing you want to do.
Right. And one thing, by the way, Blake, that I could bring up to you, my friend, would be this great example. I got invited as a sub to go a substitute. We call it not a mascot, but rather a teacher guy, consultant. There we go. There's a computer company or a programming company in Hue City here, and they specifically take outsourced, projects. Specifically, it was like a Kroger's or like some sort of grocery store chain in the United States that wanted their inventory system, software done, website, blah, 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 all put together. And again, it was ultimately outsourced to a Vietnamese programming company. Now, forget your preconceived notions of what you think programmers are kind of like out here. They are sharp. Okay, these are some sharp kids. Like the smart, nerdy kids in high school and college. Yeah, in Vietnam, they're all like that. And they don't party. They don't go out and get drunk. They don't piss away their no, they are on the ball. I was just talking with these guys, and a lot of them, 15 languages, meaning programming languages. Bang, 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 bang. Oh yeah, JavaScript, got it. Fox Pro, got it. CSS, or various websites, got it. Now, I bring this up as an example because this is a, let's say they've got 25, 30 employees at this one company and no foreigners working there. So where could a person fit in? Well, yeah, you could just show up there and they're going to find something for you. They really will, whether it's, reading and helping folks understand the emails, getting on the phone and actually talking with the customers and finding out what they really like. Just sitting there and being present during a meeting of some kind. Writing up a technical document of some kind. Looking at their overall plan for programming this whole outfit or this project and giving your input on it. The list is endlessly long of stuff that you could help with in this regard. So this is just one example in one small town out of dozens just in this town.
Yeah, I forgot 2 weeks ago, someone wanted to, she's a medical student, and she's just starting a job at some pharmaceutical company. And she needs to make a presentation to impress board members that's in Australia. So it needs to be in English, of course. And she's very fluent in English, but of course there's a lot of big words that she needs to use, and she needs to check sentence structures and things like that. So I was just helping her set up a presentation and giving her some tips on how to make it sound more interesting, because let's face it, it's all figures and data sheets and things. So so I had a good 2-hour session with her, just showing her how to make a presentation in PowerPoint, which is pretty cool.
No, right on. So yeah, they're definitely consulting in that regard. If you were to set foot in one of the programming colleges here in Hue with a big smile, shaking hands left and right, I will guarantee someone's going to need something. They're either going to have you in as a guest speaker. They're going to need you to help understand technical documents of some kind. The individual students are going to want to learn from you in one fashion or another, whether it's something technical, maybe learn more about how to make websites, let's just say, or for that matter, what are the English terms needed for this and that. The list goes on and on. There are Windows certification courses, I think they call it. Yeah, in Hue City. Yep, you could just show up there and get it done. Oh yeah, just go in and shake hands. Yeah, so there is, if that's your thing, in other words, if you're into like, let's say the tech world, which is broad, oh yeah, you'll find work for sure, especially if you're looking at part-time gigs and stuff like that. I can't really speak for hoping to get hired on with a company in a full-time regard.
Yeah. I met a French guy at BMZ Bar the other day, and he works for an IT company.
Mm-hmm.
He does maintenance for them, but he's full-time employed with work permit and contract and whatever. And his company, one of their branches is here in Hue, and he moved from France to here to support them. So I suppose those opportunities are out there if you look for them.
Right. Now, and what we're going to keep hitting on here throughout this, live stream is the whole idea of, being independent, and you got to go out and get it. If you were to show up here and just wait for someone to approach you and hand you a job, you'll be waiting a while. It doesn't work that way. You got to go out and get it. And again, you got to go out and shake hands, meet people, pass out cards, that kind of thing. Anyway, Blake, you're saying database modeling, design, analysis is more my specialty, but bounced around. Good. Yep. Need ya. Not really interested in full-time anyhow. Already having fun with that. Fun with that. Right. Look, the fact is that you can make a good living part-time in it. Just part-time gig. Consulting. I mean, you don't have to work that hard out here. I mean, if you're really sharp and you got the right gigs and you're working 15 hours a week, you'll have no trouble making a living. You'll have no trouble in the city anyway. So yeah, you'd be doing pretty good with that. So, I did want to mention really practical stuff, making websites. And I'm just talking simple one-pagers. Okay. Just simple stuff. You don't need anything fancy. Yes, that demand for that is huge, especially right now, this year, right here, right now. And it will be for the next handful of years. There's a lot of folks, maybe they have a tour company, have a hotel, have one of my buddies is a tour guide, and he wanted a one-page website, terrific. But he doesn't know where to go and so forth, but talk to me. I whipped it all up and I did it for cheap, like, let's say less than $200. American. Yeah, whipped it up for him, but that was a game changer. So now he's got his own business card with his website on the bottom, and people trust him and his tours a lot more. So that's terrific. And I banged it out in a day. So that kind of thing is really common. There's a lot of folks that need that sort of thing. And if I wanted to focus on that, I could probably get at least one client a week, someone who wants a website made. So again, that's less databasey and, fancy schmancy stuff and more just crack open WordPress and bang it out. But fact remains, it's practical. A lot of folks need something like that. So yeah, I guess in short, there's a lot of opportunities in that regard as long as you're willing to go out and get it, which would include just find out where these tech companies are and just walk in with a stack of business cards, a smile, and a handshake. Just see what happens. Just walk in and say hi. Catch them at a lunch break. Catch them right at the end of work as everyone's getting off of work.
The worst possible scenario would be they invite you for drinks.
Yeah, worst case. Worst case. Yeah. Yeah, or two, go to the college or if you're into tech, go where the tech people are. There we go. There's a nice simple way of saying it. If there's a tech party of some kind, go there. If there's a group of some kind, go there.
And the more like-minded people you're going to meet there, the more your name's going to spread around and your business card's going to spread around, make its rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get more known by the local people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to give it to their tech buddies, and eventually someone will find their way back to you.
Yep. I just left a house recently. Yeah. And it turns out the husband and wife, now the husband actually makes furniture, tables and chairs, and he and his company sell them internationally, including Australia, Japan, United States, Canada, etc. Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah. And he's a really successful fellow. But he's the only guy in his company and he's like the CEO, that doesn't speak English well. So yes, he does want me there to kind of help boost his English, but along the way, understand the cultural side of selling internationally. Perfect. I was a salesman for 12 years actively in the United States, and I actually bought and sold things between America and Japan for years. Everest Trading, we had our company there. So this is a highly specific situation where he needs a guy just like myself that has international buying and selling experience and cultural experience and language teaching experience and so forth. And whereas his wife makes fabrics and stuff like that, same idea, sells them internationally, ... So yeah, these kind of really specific needs that people have are everywhere. How did they find me? I don't know. To be honest, I don't know, because I meet hundreds of people and cards everywhere. I have hundreds of cards floating around the city, hundreds of flyers. Thousands of people know who I am. So somebody talked to somebody, got in touch with my wife. They walked into her hotel and like, hello, you're the wife of the foreign guy who knows about ... Have him call me. Okay. And yep, that happens a lot. But again, to be clear, I'm out there passing out cards. I'm out making it happen. So yeah, no matter what you're into, if you're a Boy Scout leader, you'll find work. If you're
Actually saw a bunch of Boy Scouts in the park.
Yeah.
Little setting up tents and things.
Oh yeah, I mean, if that's your thing, you'll find work. Oh yeah, for sure. They'd be delighted to have you. Yeah, show us from an American chapter. We got the uniform right here. Whatever the case is. So yeah, there is just such a wide variety of work. So I don't want to artificially focus on teaching English only, and I don't want to create this picture that that's the only way to live, because it's not. It's a great way, of course. But again, not the only one. I did want to say this, since we're talking about these different things. I did run across a gentleman who was from Australia, well trained, and went to like 6 years of electrician's college and so forth, and is good at commercial electricianship. Good for him. Couldn't be a smarter fellow. Now, so far so good. However, he wants to come to Hawaii City and dun 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 start his own business, being an electrician here in Vietnam, and position himself as the only guy who is internationally trained on large-scale commercial electricianship and so forth and so forth.
So he'll be expensive.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. He's most assuredly going to be the spendiest fellow here. But I make the dramatic music, dun dun dun, because all this is fine and dandy. Everything sounds great until you get to the start your own business thing. Ouch. Okay. Some main problems with this, not to get in too deep into it, but some of the main issues is, number one, he's going to be apocalyptically pissed every single construction situation he's in, because the best of the best construction situations he run across in Vietnam will be worse than the worst he's ever run across, air quotes, than he's ever run across in Australia. So he's going to be pissed at every single step. Problem two, even if he was did a perfect job within the confines of the building, you still have to integrate in with the rest of the Vietnamese electrical grids, both figuratively and literally. So to interface in with the rest of the country is going to be ridiculously hard. Not only in a practical how to wire it up kind of situation, but in a philosophically speaking, connecting minds. What about the language barrier, brah? You mean you can't talk to any of your clients, any of your employees, any of your suppliers?
Yeah, I would imagine you'd need to be pretty fluent.
Oh, yeah.
To do that. Yeah.
Right. If he would have said something like, hey, Brad, I'm extremely well qualified, but I want to come to Vietnam because I want to learn from as many people as possible. And I want to be a light consultant on the edge of a pre-existing commercial electricians company. Now you're talking. Okay. And I want to show up there and I want to intern for a while and learn how the Vietnamese people do it, and then offer my input occasionally. Okay, all right. Now you're talking. Now you're going to have room, to be able to make it. So by having that, it is possible for him to work out here. But if he shows up here with this attitude of I'm king shit, I am the smartest, best guy here, best qualified, and I'm going to come here and revolutionize the entire Vietnamese construction system single-handedly, this guy, and I'm going to be the number one guy in the city. All right. It makes sense in your mind before you get here, but if you come in with that perspective, you're going to fail, period. And we'll kind of keep hitting on this. So anyway, yeah. Is it possible? Yes. With the right attitude? Yes. In your case, Blake, if you're coming here part-time in it, yeah. And come as a consultant? Yeah. Especially if you're willing to do a lot of work for free, initially, do a lot of face-to-face meetings for free the first round. Oh yeah. I think you'll be doing fantastically well. So great. And keep firing away, y'all, if y'all have any more, questions in that regard. So, okay. Let's go to kind of to a next step here. Working and work permit and stuff like that. What can you say about working and work permit and business visa and things along those lines? You're more of a pro at this than I am. So.
Okay. So, well, let's start with what people usually say is they don't want to come here and work on a tourist visa. So they're going to get a business visa and then they can teach wherever they want. And they don't quite understand that you're still not allowed to work on a business visa. You can go for an interview and all that if teaching is your kind of thing that you want to do. You can't sign a contract and work permanently at a school with a tourist visa for obvious reasons. You're only supposed to be in the country for 3 months. You can't sign a contract, work for school exclusivity for 3 months on a business visa. If that is your goal, to work for one company and one company only, then you will need to get a work permit and you need to get a working visa via that company. If you work independently, it's not as much of a requirement. because you're not contractually committed to any one company, and you legally not really working for anyone. You can do privates, and you don't need to give a reason as to why you are doing it. You can speak English, and you are giving them English lessons, not registered in a school, not you're not working for a company. You're just helping someone out, and they happen to give you some money for it. So that's one way that you can escape the whole work permit thing. It's not really as much of an issue around the South, I've noticed. They don't really check things like this. If you work for a company and you're registered with them and you've signed exclusivity with them, they don't ever really check if you are truly registered or if you do have a work permit or anything. What I have noticed in Hawaii, if you do work for a company and you leave them, they will send immigration to your house to check if you made any other plans since leaving that company. But yeah, if you work independently, there's no need for any of that. You won't need a work permit because hence you're not working for a company. You won't necessarily need to go onto a business visa because you're not working for a business and you don't intend to start a business. It's pretty much fine just being on a tourist visa because you are a tourist and you're helping people out and they're giving you money for it. There's nothing illegal about that. If you go onto a business visa and you tutoring people, you can find some illegal things with that because firstly you need a company to have a business visa, so you somehow related to some kind of business, but you're not at the business, you're not working for the business, you're tutoring at home, but you are registered with agricultural farming in Saigon, because your business visa is attached to a certain company. So you're probably more at risk being on a business visa than you are on a tourist visa if you're doing the private thing. Yeah. Cost wise.
Yeah, like work permit, visa. What's it cost?
Yeah, so let's start with tourist visa. It depends on the country and where you're from, your visa letter and all that, but it's around $40, I think, for a tourist visa. Business visa, you're looking at about $70 for 3 months. This is all 3 months single entry. All this information is, of course, available on the Vietnamese government website. You need an invitation letter depending on what country you come from, but myself, from South Africa, I need an invitation letter from a tour agency inviting me to the country for tourists, for business visa and everything. Then you've got your stamping fees and everything, which is also available on the government website.
But well, specifically talking about the one common route that a lot of folks do is sign a contract with a school, and then ultimately, once they have that contract, get a work permit, and then get like a visa such that they're able to work and live here. Some folks take it a step further and get a residence card, while they're here, which is great, especially if they plan on a long-term, kind of an ordeal. Now, it is the plus sides with this is you are able to stay in Vietnam for years on end, and you are able to legally work for schools, let's just say, and sure, pay taxes, the whole works, effectively be a contributing member to society. Yeah, and so forth, so that is terrific. In fact, another advantage for folks that don't know much about the systems out here and don't know where to begin, a lot of schools will actually hold your hand through the whole works, which is to say you pretty well sign up for a school. You could know nothing about taxes, registration, whatever. They'll hold your hand through everything.
Yeah, they do everything.
Right. So again, kind of walk me through it. How does that work? Let's just say you work at a school and you want to go this route. Okay, so how does this work?
Generally, what people do is they come here on a tourist visa, and then they start looking for work. And if you find a school that you're willing to sign with, you would sign the contract, and then they would start your work visa application. You need to not your work visa, your work permit. You need to get a work permit before you can get the visa. That generally takes about two weeks or so, and they will most likely pay for everything, but they will get the money back from you with your first or second salary.
Take it out of your check, effectively.
Yeah, you will eventually get this money back. Generally, at the end of your contract, they give you this amount that you paid for it back. So you will get the money back. And then it's roughly about 10 to 15 million Vietnamese dong for them to do the process, to start the process.
So $400 to $600 ish.
Yeah, about $400 to $600. And they don't need you to have that money on hand when you go to them. Like I said, they will take it off your salary. And then you would need to do a medical test or medical exam at a hospital. They usually go in Hue, they're about 4 million.
Whoa, hello. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they check everything. They check blood pressure, everything, including blood tests and
probably STD tests,
urine
maybe,
samples and everything. Yeah. So that's another 4 million. That's out of your own pocket. Sometimes you have a school that's nice enough, like Shanae, her school paid for everything. They took her to the hospital. They spoke to the people. They did the tests. You also need to get a police clearance. Now, if you are coming into Vietnam from another country, from your home country, it's a good tip to get a police clearance from your country because they're valid for something like 6 months. So get a police clearance from your country and then bring that with you. Otherwise, you would need to go to the police station here and do everything here with someone holding your hand because no one's going to speak English. So, but generally your school will help you out. They'll take you to the police station. They'll fill in all the forms or give you the pen and tell you what to write.
And just to jump in, what they're really looking for here is, well, they're trying to cross their T's, dot their lowercase J's, but what they're really looking for is they want to make sure you're not like a felon escaping your home country or something like that. Okay. That's really what to sum it up, that's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And they want to make sure you're not like an AIDS having drug addict, prostitute kind of person.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. And they want to make sure, if you're 80 years old, you don't keel over dead halfway through your contract, make sure you don't have cancer. I mean, it's just pretty obvious stuff like that. If you've got history, for example, of like, not Tourette's, but like, whatever, some mental disorder of some kind, and you just lose your mind, halfway through, they want to avoid that. Because the big idea here, and correct me where I'm wrong, is the big idea is all of this is kind of with the intent or the idea that you're going to basically be here for a year. Okay, you're going to be with a school, like a contract for a year is a typical length. As a result, getting this work permit for about a year and a contract for about a year with the understanding you're not leaving 3 months in, 6 months in, or some random time. Because let's face it, at a school, they kind of need you there for the whole year. It's just how it is. So that's the big reasoning behind it. Would you say so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you do the medical check, I mean, I've got high blood pressure, a hypertension, but that would be a handy thing for them to know if something happens to me. They would know, oh, he's got hypertension. Maybe we shouldn't give him aspirin or something. So they just want to check as well that they can look after you while you're working for them.
Sure.
And the police clearance thing is just to check, like he said, you're not a crazy criminal coming to teach 4-year-olds. They wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that either. So
right. And for that matter too, they probably don't want sex offenders, let's just say. I haven't heard of any sex offenders coming here to Vietnam. I suppose some might, but they kind of want to cover their bases on that one, which makes sense.
I'd want to make sure that there's 400 kids you're teaching, you're not into any of them.
Right. Let's just say, right. Point being, they're reasonable. They're very reasonable steps that they're going through. They're not doing it randomly,
And all these steps that I'm mentioning, you can do all of them without actually doing them for some extra fees, of course.
You mean you can do all of these steps without
like the health check? You can do a health check without going to the hospital, but that would be, you would need to pay someone a bit
a paper health check. Now I
paper health check.
got it. I suppose. Yeah.
So then they just check your length, how tall you are. Not your, yeah. They would just want to know your height and your weight so that they can match your body description to someone else who would fit the bill.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, yeah, okay, well, right on. Yeah. So getting these contracts and getting stuff like that all set up, it's not the only way to go, but it is an easy route for a lot of people, you know. And yeah.
Yeah, what makes it kind of easy is a lot of the big schools, like the internationally recognized schools, they have online application forms and things, and you can fill that in while you're still in your country, and they can meet you at the airport, pick you up, take you to a hotel that they booked, and take you to the school, give you some transport, or pick you up and bring you to school every day, and they will follow through all these steps and the medical checks and all that for you. You won't need to do any of that. That they would hold your hand throughout the process. And yeah, once the work permit is approved, then they would require you to do a border run so that you can go off your tourist visa and onto a working visa, not a business visa. Some people don't know the difference between the working and the business visa. So then you go over to a working visa, and you would essentially be legally working for a company in Vietnam for 1 year, and you want
passport stamped.
Yeah, yep. Passport stamped, visa in the passport.
Right. Now, and this is all going to be handy too, because having a visa and your passport all sorted out is important for a few different places. Hello there, Rob. I'm not looking to work in Vietnam, but I'm interested in hiring Vietnamese WordPress developers to augment my team. What do you suggest to contact companies who do outsourced coding? Ooh, okay, good question. Okay, let's go there real quick. Yeah, first of all, looking on freelancer.com would be an excellent start. And whether or not they're actually in Vietnam or in India or some other, country around here, I don't know if necessarily being Vietnamese would necessarily be better, but that would be where I would start, would be Freelancer and places like Freelancer. Given that fact, if you're really looking into it here, Rob, and you're real serious about Vietnam particularly, again, as I mentioned earlier, I do have a handful of folks that are programmers here, and with varying degrees of English ability, but coding ability, top notch. Point being, if you're serious about it, personal message me, and I'll gladly make a Facebook group with the top 5, programmer friends that I've got, and at least put some feelers out for you, so he can handle that for you if you'd like. Okay, I'd be looking to come over and meet some companies who do this. You mean who do WordPress development, stuff like that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you were in Hue, let's just say, I could bring you in personally. Yeah, to a handful of places. Obviously, if you're talking like Saigon, let's just say, yeah, you're going to find quite, I would imagine, much larger community, to work from. In fact, that to my knowledge, there are meetup groups and Facebook groups and stuff like that, specifically for people who are doing exactly what you're doing. Hell, there's blockchain groups, in Saigon. There is artificial intelligence programming groups in Saigon. Certainly, outsourced programming groups, where it's going to be a mix of Vietnamese people and, Westerners that get together and talk about exactly this, who are guys exactly like yourself, Rob. And there's the reason that there's so many groups like this is because it works. Seriously. Why are suits so damn popular in Vietnam? Well, there's a bunch of French dudes, 150 years ago, there was a bunch of French dudes that were sitting in France like, what would happen if we brought over 10 sewing machines to Vietnam and taught these folks how to make this stuff? And the Vietnamese folks are sitting there with a huge smile on their face. You mean guaranteed work forever? Yeah. that was 150 years ago. To this day, there is thousands of people that are making suits and outsourcing them to France, America. Yep. And to this day, programming wise, certainly there's tons of people that are working here. There's and tons of extremely qualified Vietnamese people that are real smart, willing to work, and they'll outwork you. Okay, it's just a fact. Vietnamese people will outwork an American under most circumstances. I should say on average, most of the time. Yeah. And they're going to be more disciplined, probably drink less, probably give you less attitude, and just get it done. So yeah, dude, in short, Rob, knows around the forums, whether it's Facebook forums, meetup groups, freelancer, just Google it, Saigon tech groups. You're going to definitely find something. I'm
pretty sure if you just post on the Saigon expats group, hey guys, IT guy looking for an IT related group or WordPress related group in Saigon, you guys know anyone? I'm pretty sure out of the 500,000 members, one of them is bound to know.
Yep. And all you need is one person out of 50,000. Yeah. So Saigon rather than Hanoi? I would say so. Although, look, I'm sure you can be successful anywhere in any decent sized city. Okay, like if you went to Da Nang, for example, you would find success because let's face it, you don't need 5,000 people, brother. You don't need 5,000. You just need what, 2? So yeah, you could pull it off in a way. Now I don't have personal firsthand experience in Hanoi in this exact world, but I do have personal firsthand experience in Saigon. In my personal opinion, this is only opinion, I like Saigon way more than Hanoi. It's just better. The weather's better. It's more beautiful. There's more beaches around. Hanoi has no beach. Hanoi is like permanently overcast. Saigon's beautiful all the time. Saigon's bigger. Yeah. Saigon's more of a, international capital in my mind, blah, blah, blah. So I would say Saigon, but I'm a little biased, I guess is the thing. But you can find success anywhere. But doing this large scale meetup group kind of thing that I'm referring to, yes, I've personally seen a shitload, in Saigon. And if you're coming here without any other contacts and you just want to come raw, it would be a better idea to go there.
Yeah, I would also say so. Just because of the population density, I think there's more people in Saigon.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about the numbers exactly.
Objectively, yeah.
But definitely a lot more people in Saigon, so your chances are better. But you would still be able to do it in Hanoi, like you said. You can do it in Hanoi if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think your chances would be better in Saigon.
Sure. And actually, you're bringing. I'm glad you asked these questions here, Rob, because when we're again talking about work in Vietnam, there's so many angles. To make this work. And what do you call them? Digital nomads and whatnot. There's thousands of digital nomads in Saigon right now that are having coffee at a coffee shop right now as we speak. Thousands.
They actually have office spaces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can go to a coffee shop, but it's like little cubicles, and you can just sit there with your laptop all day and order one coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Use their Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. What do they call them? Shared workspaces, or what's the word for it? Share space. Share space or something like that. Yeah. But the neat thing about this though is, let's just say there's you can kind of be with like-minded people, which is to say, I ran across one gentleman who does international. He actually sells it was like air conditioners and water heaters. I'm like, that's your thing? Okay. But no, he's making a killing at it. Okay, fine. Basically, he buys them from India and China and then ships them to America. And he's just the middleman on it. Okay, hey, more power to you. But the thing is, there's a handful of other folks that is in his share space that also do buying and selling and what do you call it, drop shipping or buy a box of stuff, send it all to Amazon and fulfilled by Amazon. And they are able to operate this whole biz from basically their laptop in Saigon at a share space. Cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So then when you go out for beers, you're surrounded by 10 other dudes or men and women that are doing the same thing. More power to you. So they're able to have a digital nomad style lifestyle, and be very successful with it. And if you ask them why Saigon, they're gonna tell you, well, there's a ton of like-minded people here. The internet's awesome. The life in Saigon and in Vietnam is awesome. And inevitably they're gonna bring up this cost of living. Damn, like they live like a pauper, 80K outside of London, and they're dropping the equivalent of $5,000 to $10,000 a month, whereas they can drop $1,500 a month in Saigon and be kinging it up, with 2 motorbikes and maids, So yeah, it's a very real thing. So yeah, whatever a person's business intentions are, you're able to make it in Saigon quite reasonably. Oddly enough, microbrewing, of all things, that's taken off lately. In Da Nang and in Saigon, there's microbrew clubs. Yeah, which is what it sounds like. Once a week, a bunch of people who love microbrewing, whether they're former microbrewers in America or Portland or wherever the hell, they want to get together and do their own batches, or if there's a new brewery that opened up, they're going to go and check them out and get to know them and shake hands there. Yeah, this is all they do all day, all week, is they sit around talking about microbrewing, brewing, distributing microbrews,
Tasting.
And taste, I'm sure. And because the cost of living is so low, you don't have to slay it. If you sold 1 truck's worth of microbrew, you're solvent. So yeah, it's very reasonable to make it happen, regardless of. Let me back up. Pretty much, regardless of your intentions and qualifications, etc. So anyway, yeah. Again, there's a lot of good angles. Okay, cool. Now, so to shift some gears here, just going to do certifications, qualifications. Okay. Scams. Let's go there. Because there's a lot of scams out here. Anytime you run across a situation where you get thousands of people who are doing one thing, and especially if a fair number of them are fools, you're going to have scammers. No matter what country you're talking, no matter what industry, no matter what. Now, that's true here in Vietnam as well, obviously. But here's some example scams related to working here and visas, etc. Scam one. One example. Yeah. Okay. Get it. Legalities related to your visa and stuff like that. It is kind of tricky to navigate this sort of ordeal. And a lot of people have by default, when you show up, you don't know what's going on. Yeah. Okay, period. So there's going to be a lot of, let's say, visa lawyers that are going to attempt to jump in and help you out, which, it's not bad to have a few of them in your back pocket, sure. But the thing is, they're going to consult you when you don't need consulting. Yeah. They're going to say, hey, pay me $1,000 and I'll arrange all this for you. And they may or may not do so, but that's $1,000 you didn't need to spend. So bear in mind, you're going to be contacted by a tremendous number of people that are going to be helping you out. Lawyer, that's one example. Buddy of mine, Jansen, he got a text, from someone. It's like, hello, Jansen, misspelled his name in shit English. Your visa problems, ... I am a police officer, misspelled. And I am here to inform you that you're working illegally, misspelled. And please call me back as soon as possible, misspelled. Would you like to have coffee? Misspelled, ? Scam. Yeah. That's one example. They're fear mongering, and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
so that's definitely a thing. Can you think of other scams or?
Yeah, I mean, I actually did a visa run yesterday, where I went to Laos border and crossed the border, came back on a new visa. And obviously, I need a visa letter because I'm from South Africa, so it's one of the countries that need invitation letter. So I contacted a tour agency or visa agent to do the letter for me. And about 3 days before I had to leave, she said, "Oh, I can't do the letter because your name is blacklisted." And I have no. She can't tell me why. She can't tell me for how long or what happens. Can I leave the country? Can I come back? Do I need to leave for a year, 2 years? I don't know what's going on. And the best answer I got was it will cost $340 to get this thing resolved, or I can go to Hanoi to my embassy, take a lawyer with me, speak to my embassy, then go to immigration, speak to them with the lawyer, and then try and get the matter resolved in 3 days before I need to leave the country. And so I went to a different visa agency and I gave them $80. And the next day they gave me a letter and I left the country and I came back.
Perfect example right there. Yeah, you got to have your head on, head on straight, or watch out for things like that. Certainly. So yeah, it's worth bearing in mind that there's going to be a lot of situations like that. And the tricky thing is, if you're here by yourself, who do you ask? Normally, you would ask a lawyer how to get this straightened out, but the lawyer is the one who's scamming you. Now what? I mean, yeah, you try to ask another white guy, so to speak. So yeah, watch out for that kind of stuff. Now, I did want to also mention with regards to getting your TESOL certification and stuff like that, because again, this is a common route that folks go here. There are a lot of legitimate ways of getting a TESOL certification, and a lot of legitimate companies and people out there. And but there's also a lot of scammers in that regard too. Some, for example, like they'll place you for a job, but you got to let's just say you show up and they're like, yeah, pay us $4,000 and we'll get you your TESOL certification and then place you for a job. Well, that's cool. Is it a scam directly? Not directly. They're not lying, but you are way overpaying for damn sure. And they are giving you a bunch of stuff you don't necessarily need. Qualifications you don't need, help finding a job they may or may not help, or you may or may not be happy with what they give you, that kind of thing.
They kind of oversell what you're getting out of it.
Sure. So in your own, and again, I don't want to use the word scam. It's not a scam, but it is giving you what you more than you need and overselling it. What's been your experience in that regard?
Like I said in the beginning, we went to Thailand first and we stayed there for a year. And we went through a company because it's our first time out of our country. So we don't know what's going on. We don't know what we can find there. So we trusted a different company to do that for us. Pick us up at the airport, take us to the hotel, take us to class the next day, that kind of thing. And it seemed a bit expensive, the kind of course thing that we're paying for, the TEFL certification. It's 120 hours in-class training with demo lessons and everything. So we took that route and we went to the company, and they also guaranteed placement and everything. And on the first day, they said, placement is not guaranteed unless you buy the visa from them or the work permit from them as well, which is something that would have been handy to know before you left your country.
Gotcha.
And then they also said, well, we can't place you where you want to be. You kind of need to go where our agent finds you some work. Before we came there, they said you can pretty much go where you want, and we take that into consideration, and there's jobs available everywhere, which is true. Yeah, we did the course. It was kind of a bit of a joke. It was 120 hours in class, but we didn't really do much in class. We rocked up at 9 a.m. in the morning, and then we read 2-3 pages out of the book, and then 1 o'clock they'd be like, it's okay, go home, go drink some beers, whatever. And then the exam at the end of this thing, they said, okay, yeah, do not talk to each other during your exam, and or you're not allowed to talk, but you can look at your book. So you can use your book, open book test. And then they left. And they left us to just have a chat with each other, ask each other what they answered for this question.
It's kind of a kangaroo ordeal. Yeah.
And then that night we went out, and I remember saying, yeah, I wonder if I passed, because obviously I sat there and I'm like, I'm not going to listen to anyone. I'm not going to check my book. I'm just going to do what I can. And if I pass, then I did well. I'm not going to fall victim to cheating. So I asked the lady that was doing the course, I said, yeah, I really hope I pass. And she said, don't worry, no, it's fine. And then they printed out all the certificates and gave it to us. And so
probably didn't even check the test. Yeah.
So it was a bit of a joke for a lot of money. I think it cost us about $2,000 each for the TEFL in-class training and then your month stay there and all that. So it was expensive, and I don't feel like I got out of it what I paid for, because you can get a $20 online TEFL and it'll most likely do the same thing.
Be equally as meaningful.
Yeah. Right. I have seen some companies like VUS and all that, the big international companies that do English teaching, they ask you for a specifically 120-hour accredited TEFL certificate, which you would need to go to a college to get. So then a $20 online TEFL, they might look at it and be like, where did you get it? But I don't see you having any major issues with it.
Right. To say this a different way, the in-class, for folks who have never taught in their life, who've never been in a teaching situation in their life, who've never taught a language in their life, certainly never taught English in their life, and have no qualifications, stuff like that. Well, in that regard, going with an accredited, decent TEFL course of some kind,
because
may be wise.
You get some really good colleges that really do everything that they can to prepare you for this. The one we went to, we did the in-class thing. Sorry. The kind of training they gave us, they taught us a bunch of games that we can play with students and how to entertain them and whatever, and told us this amazing story of how fun it is, and it's all just games and fun and games, teaching them. When we got to our school, at the end of this, they sent us to Bangkok, and we got to the school there. I walked in on a Monday morning. My class is the first class at the school, and I start with my game that I prepared, did a whole day of lesson planning. And as soon as I start, the teacher's like, oh, teacher, no games. So everything that they taught me for a month and told me of how wonderful and jumpy and fun it is, none of that mattered. So they didn't really prepare me for teaching at all. But there are companies that are legitimate, concerned about how you teach and whatever. So they will teach you the proper way of teaching, and they'll give you some tips and tricks to use.
Sure.
So there are the proper companies that you can use.
Right.
If you've never taught before.
Right. Right. Well, and look, I think, use common sense. I guess that's just it. Teaching is really, in my opinion, common sense, kind of things. If they look bored, don't talk in a boring way. When it comes to what to teach, what lesson plans to put together, use common sense. What are common things we normally say? If you don't like working with kids, don't work with kids. Common sense.
And there's tons of resources online as well.
Right.
ISL Collectives is one of the websites that I use. And you pretty much type in a topic that you have. Let's say you have to teach clothes. You type in clothes and you select the level that you're teaching. Bang, 5,000 lesson plans already done. You just print them out. So yeah, they have games and activities and everything in their lesson plan. So
right on. Yeah. So I guess what I would suggest from my perspective is, TESOL certificate. Just do the online one for cheap. Have that in your back pocket. Yeah, it can be anywhere from I guess $50 up to $400 or whatever. Just do that online. Use a ton of common sense, and then just go and get experience. I mean, just walk into places. You don't even need a TESOL certification to go to a lot of schools and places. For example, if you have a month of time, instead of spending a couple grand on a course plus a couple grand to live on, instead, if you spent $0 on a course and instead just be a volunteer, just be a volunteer and go and check it out at various places. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey there, Rusty. ESL Collected. What's when you were talking
I
about?
think it's ISL Collectives. Can we do a Google search quick and just
Could you do that on your phone, maybe?
I don't have my phone.
Okay. Oh, okay. ISL Collective.
Yeah. If anybody else is online, we can post the link.
Yeah. Here, I'll let you nose around for it.
Check. I just want to double check. I don't want to point you in the wrong
direction. In the wrong direction. But just Google it. Lesson plans for ... I'm sure in less than an hour, certainly less time it would take you to write one up from scratch. But yeah, if you go there, you'll be sitting darn good. So yeah, that'll be a handy ordeal.
Yeah.
Oh,
ISL Collective.
ISLcollectives.com. Oh yeah, you found it. Okay, great. All right, glad to help.
Yeah, really good site. They don't charge you anything. It's free to make an account. You need an account to download anything, but you don't need to do anything. And of course, you can contribute your own lesson plans, which I do sometimes. If I make a nice, interesting lesson, I also upload it so other people can use it, because I do that. I use their stuff.
What the hell, right? Yeah, common sense. Yeah.
So if I have 5 minutes to prep for a lesson and I didn't have time to do anything, I just put a topic in there, download, print, done.
Yep. And I've used sites similar to this. Like I've used a vocab site where, because I have some of my online students where they really want structured. Most importantly, their parents want a structured ordeal. Yeah. Hey, sweet. How about we'll do buildings today, and then I'll download, like, let's say, 100 words about buildings, but I'll cut out the ones that we don't really need, or the complicated ones or the simple ones, and then just kind of cut it down to, like, let's say 20, 30 words. Sweet. And I keep that on my computer. So that way, if I don't, I got a whole folder of lesson plan and ideas, right? So if I don't know what to do that day, scroll, point. Okay. I guess we're doing,
there are tons
roller coasters,
websites and stuff. Yeah, I just mentioned that one because I use that one more often than others.
And it's a lazy route, but it looks great. So now to kind of show again the contrasting thing, in my own case, I don't mess with or I don't even have a TESOL certificate. I just never bothered. I got about halfway through doing one and then it occurred to me where I was like, meh, I'm just going to see if I can get by without it, which, you certainly can. If you have a lot of common sense and you have a lot of experience and you enjoy this kind of thing and you enjoy teaching languages and this is your world, right? Now, I did want to be very clear, and I put this in big red letters on my website. If you want to be in a school in a contractual setting that would otherwise normally require a work permit and working visa, contract, etc., if you're in that exact environment and you don't follow the steps required, then you are acting illegally and you could thus get busted. Okay? So if you're doing it in the quote unquote normal way, but you don't follow the normal steps with the normal legalities, you're breaking the law. Yep. And you could get busted in that particular instance. In contrast, if you are doing side gigs and part-timing it, none of those requirements are there. So as a result, you don't need a TESOL certificate, college degree, health check, work permit, ... You don't need any of that. So what I want to be very clear when I talk about, like, I teach at a school, to be very clear, I'm a type 2, the place that don't require any of that. They pay with an envelope of cash, once a month. Perfect. If cops were to ask me what I'm doing, Well, they do already. Oh, and 2 of my students are of the cops. Just so you know. Yeah, I would tell them blatantly, this is exactly what I do. Here's my card. Here's my sheet. Here's exactly where I'm working. Feel free to show up. But again, I'm type 2. I'm doing it all independent gigs with independent folks. So yeah, again, I talk about you don't need these certifications and rules and stuff like that. But people on Reddit and people on forums are like, don't you know, Brad, you're breaking the law. They're cracking down here. You're blah, 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 blah. They're not wrong. But if you, again, do type 1 without that stuff, yes, they are totally correct. But if you do type 2, you don't need any of it. And again, the type 2 also includes independent students, one-on-one tutoring, online teaching. Again, part-timing it once a week at this school, then once a week at this school, once a week at this school. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have a contract with the school and be on a tourist visa.
Right.
That would be a no-no.
Right. It's a one or the other kind of thing. Right. So I don't want to suggest to folks to break the law.
No.
But I will suggest to folks, hey, you don't have to do type 1 either. I never have and probably never will. Now, I did want to mention, again, type 2 working independently with a bunch of different places has a lot of advantages. Okay. And it takes a different mentality. Okay. It's a totally different world. These are totally separate. But some of the main advantages are, 1, you get to determine when you work. For example, you want to do weekends only? Okay. You want to do during the week only? Okay. You want to do nights only? Yep. You want to, this one particular type of student, like I only want to do adults and I only want to do people who work in the hotel industry. I only want to talk to programmers. I only want to do stuff at a coffee shop to help out medical, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you're allowed to say no.
Yeah, you're allowed to say no. Okay, thank you for simplifying it down. Yeah, you're allowed to say no. You can pick and choose. Okay, if you're type 1, you're really not allowed to say no. I mean, I get friends of mine who are type 1 who are on a schedule contract, and they're like, yeah, I want to take a 3-day weekend 3 months from now, but I got to start planning now because I have to be there and can't say no. If they receive classes that they don't like, kids they don't like, situations they don't like, they don't have a choice. You can't go anywhere. And if you do, I want to be very clear, and I'm going to slow down and say this very clearly. If you are going type 1, which means if you are signing a contract and getting a work permit and work visa, with one single school, you are bound to that school, which means you cannot sign 4 contracts with 4 different schools. You cannot work at more than one. You could probably do some side stuff, maybe, but you certainly cannot have more than one contract at the same time.
No, you sign exclusivity.
Bingo. That's a very key point. So for folks that first come here and don't know where to go and don't know what to do, how to get started and whatnot, for your first year, it can be a good idea, but bear that in mind. You've got exclusivity and they've got you for basically a year. And if you were to, let's just say, tell them no halfway through, ouch. Okay, they're going to, obviously, well, the contract's on.
Cancel your work permit.
Yep, cancel
your visa.
Bang.
Cancel your residency card.
Bang, ouch. And probably say a bunch of negative stuff, potentially try to blacklist you.
And then after they've been holding your hand through every single process, now they just leave you to do everything else on your own.
Good luck with all that. And they'll be pissed. And they'll, yeah. Oh, and then that money that they were going to otherwise give you at the end, they're keeping all that. So, yeah, which could be upwards of $1,000 American dollars. So, to put it nice and redneck, simple and blunt, they got you by the balls. Okay, basically, they got you by the balls if you go this route. It's not a bad route, and for some people, it's a good way to go.
Yeah,
but know what you're getting into, and know that this is what all is entailed. And please know, it's not the only way to do it. That's the big thing I just want to say. It's not the only way to do it.
And as an example, when we were in the South, in close to Saigon, we signed a year contract with a center, and signing a contract with a center opposed to a school, centers generally only operate at night and on weekends. So, what sounds wonderful to people is we only worked an hour and a half a day, and Saturday we had 4 lessons, and Sunday we had 4 lessons. The rest of the time you're off. But you are at home from the morning whenever you get up until 5 p.m. when your class starts. Then you have 1.5 hours class, and you go home. So you have a lot of time at home. But also, there is no other opportunity for you to make money teaching. You can't work at a school during the day. You can't work at a language center on your off day. You can do nothing except work for this school.
Exclusivity.
You can't work for anyone else. So you are forced to sit at home and wait for that hour and a half tonight and go and teach that and come back. And it's like more of a mental thing. It kind of gets to you because you kind of get bored of doing nothing.
Who wouldn't? I would.
And you can't exactly go out drinking or partying or whatever during the day because you have a class tonight. So it kind of spoils your whole day. And I've met people that love it. They enjoy it. They sit and play computer games until 5 p.m., go to school, come back, play computer games. Tomorrow they play computer games, teach for an hour, go back home, play computer games. Sure, if that's what makes you happy, cool.
Are you really winning? Yeah, I don't know. And, cool. Now, to contrast this, again, type 2, like in my own case, totally independent. So, yeah, if I want to add more stuff in the morning, for example, there's a handful of business people that want to learn business English from 6 a.m. until 8 in the morning online. Yeah, I can do that. When I go to a school or whatever the case is, I'll go in and, check it out for the first few lessons for free. And if I dig them, they dig me, everything's going and everything's smiling, sweet. We'll go for it when I want. Mm-hmm. They'll ask me politely, so when can you make it, Brad? I like that question. When would you like to be here? How could we fit you in? How can we work around your schedule, Brad? Perfect. I love conversations like that,
And sometimes you and a student, you don't match up, you don't fit together. I've had a few where I have a free lesson with them or I just talk to them for an hour and then I see, well, there's nothing I can really teach you and we're not clicking, we're not talking. So I would suggest you go to someone else just because I don't feel like we've got a connection. I don't feel like we're working. If you're working at a center and they give you a class and you guys don't work together, shame.
Fuck yourself. Yeah. Get used to it. Deal with it. Yeah.
Our contract in the South actually had a little line in it. You can ask them or request to change 3 classes. So if you don't like a class, you can change. And then you have two strikes left. So you can change twice more.
Sure.
That's it.
Sure. Okay. Well, hey, so we're again talking type 1, type 2 here. Now, in the case of Peter, you've switched from type 1 to type 2 recently, isn't that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So walk me through that. What happened? What made the switch? What's different? The switch from exclusivity contracts to independent. How did that work?
Okay. So when we came to Hawaii initially a few months ago, I was going to do the same thing we did in the South, look for a school, get a contract, sign with them, work for them. Cool. And I started applying to a bunch of schools and going for interviews, doing demo lessons. And then when they gave me the offers, I wasn't too happy about the offers because it's a set amount of money and there's no possibilities of earning more if you want to. So for an example, they would pay you $1,300, which is, it's okay, but considering you're not allowed to work for anyone else and there's no possible way of making more than that $1,300, and you're obligated to work 70 hours and you have to do 6 hours of office hours, of which you're not paid for. So you have to go into the office for 6 hours and do nothing, just be there, and you're not paid for it. It's part of your contract. all this started looking a bit dodge to me. I didn't want to dedicate my whole life to you and have one off day a week, maybe. Actually, they said, no, we have 5 off days a month. Wow, thank you. So I didn't want to do that for $1,300 with no possibility of making more. And yeah, that's why I started doing the second route, or as you said,
independent.
Independent. And it's in some ways it's harder, and in some ways it's easier. It can be more challenging. It is more challenging. It can be. It is. But it's definitely more rewarding. And as you said, you can choose who you teach, when you teach, and you essentially making your own salary then. So there's no limit to only $1,300. The way I got started, I just started meeting people and just talking to them. Our landlord, for instance, she asked me randomly, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm a teacher." And she hooked me up with a bunch of schools, and I didn't like their contract, so I said, "No, sorry, I'm not gonna do that. It's not appealing to me." So she said, "Okay, well, why don't you teach these 3 kids in the morning? They're just looking for a private teacher." And that's kind of how I started. I just did them in the mornings, and then from there they told their friends, and then it evolves. And after a while, after meeting a bunch of people, a few schools contacted me and said, "We know you're not doing the contract thing, but we need a cover teacher. Can you come and cover a class on Sunday?" Sure, yeah. After class, they give me money, and then I leave. No contract, no nothing. And after working for that school a little bit, other schools started contacting me and say, "Hey, we need a teacher every Saturday for 2 hours." Okay, I can do that. Directly after class, money in your hand, you go home. No contract, they don't own you. And if I don't feel like doing the class next Saturday, just send them a message and say, "Hey, I won't be available this week." They can't fire me.
And even if they did,
I don't work for them. So, yeah, even if they did, then I just find a different company or a different school. So now schools are contacting me. It's funny how it changed. In the beginning, when you're looking for a job, I have a beautiful CV, and I have all my qualifications and everything that I send to them, and they require TEFL and all that, and they check everything. But then the schools that phoned me and asked me if I can cover for them, even if I've never met them, they never saw my resume. They never asked if I have a TEFL, which is funny. When they need you, you don't need anything.
Right. And actually, I want to be clear. I don't have a resume at all. Like, I just never put one together because I've never needed it once, ever. I've actually never even been asked, not once. And not once have I been asked about a TEFL or anything like that, ever. Hell, I've hardly been asked about experience. Yeah, it's kind of like you said, when the companies are seeking out you, knowing you're an independent. Yeah, it's sweet. Yeah, it's sweet. You're in the driver's seat, so to speak. And so yeah, that goes a long ways, and it is something neat, about, again, being independent. So actually, I've been independent since the beginning. I've never signed a contract, but it's been kind of funny because I've have a few of my friends who are working here who I've suggested from day one, just go independent. And they're just like, oh, okay, that's all they know is type 2, going independent. So yeah, a year in, they're talking to their other friends who are like, work permit, visa, resume, contract, what, type 1? What are you talking about? I don't even know how that works. Right. And so anyway, talking about, is it easier or harder? It is worth pointing out reasons why it is harder to be independent. Okay. Why don't you start? Why is it harder? What's the downside?
It's more effort from your side. You would need
recruiting. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. You actually need to go out and look for people. No one's going to come to you. You're not going to get a phone call and say, "Oh, your class tonight, this is the lesson plan," kind of thing. You need to meet people and you need to find people and then socialize, and then your web will start evolving from there.
Mm-hmm.
So it can take a little longer to get going.
There we go. That's a key point. Is if you're looking at getting here, knowing nothing, first time in a new city, and you're hoping to make $1,000 your first month, ain't gonna happen. No, not reasonably, unless you're either super lucky or a champ.
Oh, really dedicated.
Like did nothing else. Yeah. But that's not reasonable. So if you're in a hurry to make a lot of money fast, it doesn't work like that. And if you're looking at having consistent money coming into perpetuity without having to recruit or go out and search and stuff like that, it's not going to happen either. And actually, that's one of the skills that you need in order to be a type 2 is you got to have business cards. You got to have business cards. I think you got to have flyers. You got to open your mouth. You got to shake a lot of hands. You got to meet a lot of people. And if you meet a lot of people and sprinkle out, cards and flyers and stuff, then people will call you up randomly and stuff like that. Then you
start getting phone calls.
Right. You can't be a gamer all day sitting there just waiting for, a ray of sunshine. It won't happen.
Yeah, the initial thing, starting off the web. A little bit harder, yeah.
Yep. But it is kind of nice because I've had it happen a lot where, like I've taught a younger gal, Krista as an example, and she did so well and changed so much and had so much fun that now her mom, wants to learn with me once a week, and she's been at it for a few months now. And then she had such a great time that now her sister, so that would be an aunt, now she's once a week. So shoot, all right, well that's cool. And I've had that happen a lot where I teach a son or daughter, and all of a sudden the mother or father want to jump in and work with me. Yeah, but I can do that because there's no exclusivity anywhere. So it's really, really nice. Really, really nice. And if I want to, I can't get fired because there's no boss. Because worst case, there's a individual person that individually doesn't want to learn with me anymore. Well, that's cool. But that's the worst case.
Yeah.
It's not connected to really anybody else. So that's kind of cool. Similarly, if I want to take a day off, there might be like, let's say Saturday is my busy day. So there's like 6 separate places I go. So if I want a Saturday off, I have to send, I guess, 6 separate messages, but I don't ask them. I just tell them I'm not going to be there. It's that simple. And then reschedule if I can, or don't if I can't, etc. But for the most part, though, it works out pretty smoothly. There are cases where I have taught in a subbed for a school, let's just say. And while I'm at that school, I pass up my card to everybody. And sometimes the other teaching assistants want to learn with me, or the individual students after about a month or two, their school wraps up. They're like, you know what? Brad, you were the best teacher we had, so we want to learn with you, man. Individually, one-on-one. That's cool. That's happened a lot. So again, being type 2, can work really well if you're, not in a huge hurry your first month or two. You talk a lot and meet a lot of people, and you're a go-getter. Oh, and you got to be awesome. It's worth saying, you got to be awesome. If you're a no experience having, expect the world to be on a platter. If you speak 0 Vietnamese, you suck at teaching. You're no fun. You're not friendly and not sociable, and you teach like shit. Okay, this type 2 sucks. Okay, people are going to see that you're a fool. So if you're a fool, don't try to do type 2. It's going to be tough, I think.
Yeah.
You got to be awesome. If you're awesome, type 2 is easy. People come to you because you're awesome, and they know right away because you're awesome. You don't need a CV or a resume because they just talk to you, and in 5 minutes, like, yeah, you're awesome. So it's kind of hard to quantify that, but you got to be awesome. Is a big thing. But
and of course, it's not for everyone. I mean, not everyone wants to do the independent thing. It works for us. But not everybody likes it. For instance, Shanae, my other half, she's not into it. She doesn't like meeting random strangers. She doesn't like talking to people at random locations. she's kind of more the kind of introvert kind of thing in that instance.
Most importantly, loves her job, and
Yeah.
she's type 1, but loves it.
And
Yeah.
her passion is to teach kids, and young kids, like kindergarten level, phonics and all that. She loves it. So
I'm rooting for her. Yeah.
So she signed a contract with the company, with the school, and they've been wonderful to her, of course. And she loves it there. They love her.
Mhm.
So cool. Yeah.
So it's a great route to go. So yeah, nothing against folks going that route, but and then again, if you're going to be here for a while, it's not a terrible decision to do that for, let's say, 1 year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've never thought of it that way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We did it, and it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you come out here and do it for 1 year, just check it out, and then during that year, you can do things like learn the language and all that. You'd be more prepared to go independently after 1 year of doing contracting.
Yeah. Well, used to the system out
Used
here.
to how things work.
Because it takes a while to get used to Vietnam.
Yeah.
I mean, you got food, weather, living situation, driving and motorbikes, and money related. And I mean, you got 20 things to get used to.
If you're dealing with all that and trying to
learn the language and then trying to build a book of business. I mean,
can be done.
It can be done. But in that instance, you're better off like if you moved into my house and you lived with me for a month, okay, great. But because I can help you and hold your hand through all these different things, get your business cards done, for example, among other things. Okay, but if you're doing it completely on your own, whoo, good luck is all I can tell you, So now, speaking Vietnamese, for some people it's a touchy topic, but I'm just going to talk nice, simple, and blunt. The more Vietnamese you got, the better. Period. Are you awesome or not? The more Vietnamese you have, the better. Now, I do have on my website, that I'll link right here shortly, a list of, let's say, the words you need while teaching. Those are extraordinarily useful. For example, teach, learn, read, write, sit down, shut up, speak well, speak terribly, English center, student, words that you're going to need. Those are critical. If you're here for 5 years and don't know any of those words, it's kind of embarrassing. And yeah, maybe you're better off being a type 1er, but it opens up a lot of doors, specifically if you're going to be type 2 independent. I can talk with the parents in Vietnamese. And I've gotten a lot of students because I talk with mom and dad in Vietnamese about the future of their children. And they're like, wow, we would never hire any other foreigner because you, Brad, speak Vietnamese. Yeah, and you're obvious. They don't ask for a resume. They don't care at that point. If you speak Vietnamese, you're fine. But it's a game changer. It's a game changer, big time. So I can, like this lovely couple that I met recently, they specifically want me because I can communicate in Vietnamese and explain things in Vietnamese. If I didn't speak it, they wouldn't hire me, period, in this instance. And now that they hired me for them and their entire family, they will never hire anybody else, ever. And no one's as awesome. Not to sound arrogant, but it matters. In the classroom, it matters. If you know how to say noun verb, or you know how to say singular plural, you know how to say even simple things like nói lại, đọc lại, repeat, read it again. Right.
Especially if you're doing kids like 4 or 5 years old, they don't know what it means if you say again or say it again or repeat. Yeah. If you say nói lại, then they're like, okay. Yeah, I know what that means. So I'll just do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how has learning Vietnamese changed, for you, especially in Hue here? How's that?
Well, the more I know, the more I'm kicking myself for not learning it faster.
Game changer.
Yeah, because it's not just the work-related thing. On a personal level, you can do so much more if you can speak the language. For instance, like you walk in the street and you see a lovely lady and she's dying to talk to you, and she runs over to you and she's trying to give you something and you don't know what's going on. I would love to be able to talk to her. I would love to know what is happening in this situation instead of just being like, Xin chào. and then walk away. On a personal level, it's so rewarding being able to talk to the people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, the border run that we did, it would not have been possible at that price if I knew no Vietnamese. It cost me 350,000 for two people to go 3.5 hours drive there and 3.5 hours back. 350,000 because I knew 5 words. I knew how to say where I'm going, and
So đi lao bao. Yeah. Bang Cebu, nah?
Yeah. So just because of those five odd words, I was able to save what, $100.
Oh yeah. Well, certainly it's about $1 million. Normal price is about $1 million for two people, a round trip. So yeah. Oh yeah.
Learn 5 words or spend $100 more. I don't know.
Right. No, it's saying a lot. Yeah, it's saying a lot. So yeah, I mean, and I don't. Yeah, even just 5 words, 10 words, 20 words. Just start simple. Start at the beginning. And yeah, you're right. In your daily life, it's a game changer. Teaching, it's a game changer. Kind of everywhere. So yeah, I push that as being the biggest thing. If you want to be a professional that teaches language acquisition, then you should acquire a language. I brought up the metaphor earlier, like, hey, if you want to sell cars, you should own a car, or you should be sold to. If you want to be a casino dealer, you should be a card player too. You get the idea. If you want to sell homes, be a homeowner. If you want to be a teacher, you should be a learner. You got to know what it feels like to be on both sides of it. Because there is like a arrogance that can accidentally get created, where a person believes that, well, I speak the dominant language, you're paying me money to teach my language to you because it's clearly superior. So the English speakers earn more than the non-English speakers. And you're paying me in order to be here. You in your mind elevate yourself up onto this pedestal and get onto this high horse, because people are praising you and pushing you up onto that high horse. They're telling you specifically you're speaking the dominant language and want to talk to you, and so forth and so forth. So it's natural for a human to start believing that and buying into it in every regard. In other words, you start having this attitude like, I do speak the number one language, and I feel entitled, and I'm king dingaling, I'm king shit, and look at me, and learn Vietnamese? Nah. Actually, I hang around with other white people that learn zero Vietnamese, and ... Oh, I have a teaching assistant. Perfect. So I got a teaching assistant who's making 1/5 as much money as I am, and they're doing all the work and all the actual Vietnamese talking because I am so fucking special. Yep. This gets built into your mind, and over the course of years, you learn zero Vietnamese, but you feel entitled. Right.
And people kind of connect, if they connect races and accents to intelligence. If you speak to someone who doesn't understand English and he's trying to figure out what you're saying and you can't talk to him, you're most likely going to think, oh, this guy's, how stupid are you? I said 1 or 2 English words. Surely you must know what this means. You must be an idiot. And they kind of look at you the same way. If they're trying to tell you something in Vietnamese, even if it's 1 or 2 words, they probably think, oh, what an idiot. He's in Vietnam and he doesn't understand me. So unfortunately, people connected to intelligence, and they're going to think you're an idiot.
Right. And that's an important point, because they won't tell you specifically in English, by the way, I think you're an idiot because you don't speak Vietnamese. It won't work like that. It's going to be secret and below the surface, and it's going to be, well, in Vietnamese, hence below your surface. Yeah, people are not going to respect you. They just won't. They're going to talk about you behind your back. Imagine this. You got 5 teachers sitting there who are earning 1/5 as much as you are, and their English level is excellent, and they've studied for years. And then all of a sudden, this white guy shows up with no qualifications and never taught in his life and speak only one language and is a shitty teacher. earning 5 times more. You think that would bother anybody ever in history? You think so? Yeah. Of course it pisses them off. Of course it does. Duh. But yeah, it's whew. I did want to say real quick, I have never had a teaching assistant in a traditional sense, meaning like, a TA would be like a Vietnamese person who speaks English perfectly well, but will be the assistant for
a translator
effectively.
Yeah.
We'll do all the work, all the homework related stuff, test making, lesson planning, all the stuff. Whereas you'll the foreigner guy, will just be doing the talking and pointing and smiling part and the picture taking part. So far, so good. Now, again, I've never had a TA before that assisted me in that regard. However, I have had a couple people try, which is insulting to me. Like, oh, Brad, welcome to our school. You're doing a presentation for these 20 people? Great. Well, I'll be here and I'll help translate for everyone to make sure they all understand. I'm like, oh, yeah. That's not how it works, girl. Do not need you. It's insulting to me that you even brought that up. Sit down. You're going to learn something today. Yeah. And basically, the first time that happened, I went in. I just shredded it, in both English and Vietnamese. Showed them sign language letters, wrote phonetics. Like when I'm talking about how to pronounce words, I'll write it in Vietnamese phonetics, and stuff like that. Yeah. And just shredded it. And the TA, was just sat there like, wow, I never thought of doing phonetics like that. I've never thought of sign language and letters. You've taught me stuff I've never known before. Wow. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That you don't need them if you're awesome. Now, that again comes from the fact that I speak Vietnamese. So yes, by speaking Vietnamese, if I were to theoretically walk into a type 1 kind of school, and let's just say they had 10 applicants, and I walked in with a cigarette dangling out of my mouth and no resume, and these glasses and in this shirt, I would get the job and they would not hire the other fools there because I speak Vietnamese. I'm telling you, it's better than a resume,
Sometimes the TAs can be distracting for the students. I've had classes where you're talking to the students and they're looking at you, and as soon as you stop talking, they look at the TA and they wait for the translation. So they're not even thinking or trying to think in English. They just automatically know she's going to translate it. So why bother trying to understand him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then, it's written on the board. I'm going to write in my book. Written on the board. Write in my book. What should the TA will tell me what to say. I repeat. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have Buddy Kuang, who is kind of a TA for me, and he does help out occasionally. Well, like for example, I want to know the Vietnamese word. I'm teaching these English words, but like, what's the Vietnamese? Because I'm going to be learning Vietnamese while I'm teaching, of course. But for the most part, I have to tell him to shut up a lot. Yeah, because he tries to help, So yeah, if he helps out a student when he shouldn't, I'll kick him. Yeah, shut up. And then I'll ask another question for that exact reason. But anyway, learn Vietnamese. This will help you if you're type 1 in it. It'll help you in any business, that you're doing. It'll help you network. It'll help you if you're into tech.
Yeah.
It'll help you in every regard, everywhere you go. It'll go a really long ways. And yeah, I really believe Vietnam's the land of opportunity, whatever you want to do. Would you agree in general?
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to transition into something else other than teaching. But for now, that's where the money's coming from. So until I know exactly what the hell I want to do, that's a good substitute.
Right on.
Firstly, I need to learn the language. I need to be more fluent if I want to do that. So until I can do that, then I'll do some teaching
and go from there. Well,
yeah.
Well, rock on. But anyway, guys, hopefully it's been a hour 45. Hopefully it's a decent overview. I know we talked about a lot of topics, but hopefully this can be helpful for any of y'all that want to work out here and make Vietnam a future destination for yourself.
Yeah.
Digital nomad, working, teaching, retiring, whatever you want to do, volunteering, you'll find something.
All possible.
But great. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks you guys and gals, for your attention. As usual, fire away any question anytime. We'd love to help. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time, huh?
Cheers,
Yep.
y'all.
Later. Yep. Cheers, Blake. Found it.